Howdy, and welcome back to the podcast. Today, we are going to talk about the 10 best things to keep inside of your gym bag for any beginner or even an experienced athlete anywhere along that spectrum. So these are the 10 things that I think you should be keeping inside of your gym bag pretty much at all times. We're not going to include the gym bag, but I guess technically that would be number one. You should probably have a gym bag, right? So the first thing that I really like, I think should be a standard, is going to be either lifting strap or grips. And I think it depends on ultimately like what kind of, movements you're doing on which of those two you should do. But especially also if I am at a commercial gym and maybe I'm a lady, I have smaller hands even as a male, and those barbells can get, kind of just hard to hold on to. So what you can do is go ahead and use those lifting straps to help your grip. You can use it with, barbells, or if you're doing a lot of volume, you can, again, you don't necessarily need to have small hands in order to use the lifting straps. If you have a lot of volume, you don't want to beat up your hands. Maybe you have a profession where you use your hands a lot of the time, and you just want to save them from being, overly, fatigued for your next day of work. Let's say, I've worked with several surgeons, and that's something that we would use in the past, making sure that they just have, hey, I'm going to go into surgery tomorrow. I need to make sure that my hands aren't super fatigued, and we go ahead and use some lifting straps for those reasons. Grips can be really good if we're using them on maybe a barbell. Maybe I'm doing or a bar, and so like a pull-up bar. If I'm doing a lot of pull-ups on a day, I can use grips in order to help me. Just making sure that they're leather, right? It's going to be very helpful. For our lifting straps or grips, I don't necessarily have any specific brands that I super love. I use Piscil for the grips, and that's spelled, I think, Piscil for my grips. And then for lifting straps, I don't really use very much. I like to train my grip strength as much as I possibly can. I don't have a job necessarily where I have to use my hands a lot. I use them obviously with clients daily, but it's part of my job, right? And so and I'm okay with having fatigued hands for that reason. I mean, I'm still around the gym, right? So lifting straps or grips are always a good one. I would try to stay away from gloves. I know that they have a bad rap, and I would validate that bad rap. So I don't know. You should just get some calluses. Again, if you're a hand model, you have some specific use cases with people that, really need those gloves. But for the most part, you should stay away from gloves. Lifting straps or grips are probably going to be a little bit better overall long-term for the health of your hands if you really are concerned. And it'll soften the potential for, what are they called? Calluses. But calluses are cool, man. I think so. So item number 2, and some that I do have some recommendations on here, are going to be wrist wraps. I absolutely love wrist wraps. I think they're super important. You can use them while you're squatting. You can use them while you're deadlifting. You can use them while you're benching, right? There's lots of different options for wrist wraps. So there are a lot of different use cases for wrist wraps. And so the reason that I like them the most is probably for bench and squat. I don't use them for deadlift, but you definitely can. If I'm having a hard time with my grip, what I can do is I'll make them really, really tight, and I can pinch a nerve right here, and that nerve will close my hand, and it'll help me maintain grip on the bar. So especially if I'm going super heavy and I know that, maybe I lose my grip at the very top of the bar or the very top of the movement, I can go ahead and just add in, some really, really tight wrist wraps, and it'll help keep those hands closed. So I also really like them for bench because once we get to a certain weight, they kind of becomes uncomfortable on the wrist, right? And so I don't want my wrist or that joint to be under so much load where it's uncomfortable for me to lift. So I really like using them for that. And then for my squat, I have a low bar squat. And so for me, it makes a little bit more sense. Not everybody has a lower bar squat. And so because it's sitting behind me so far down, it can kind of get uncomfortable with the amount of wrist flexion that I have. So it just helps me kind of correct that flexion. And then I can keep a little bit more neutral of a position here. And so some recommendations for brands. I really like the SBD brands. I just bought these. I bought both the stiff and the non-stiff version. and I have a 24 inch and I think it's a 32 or a 36 inch, something like that. Whatever IPF approves, just because that's the governing body that I am lifting in. So just if you don't have a governing body, then most often you probably just need like a 24. If you're a smaller lady, probably like 18, and that's probably more than enough. But I would rather have more than not have enough. So I like having the longest that I possibly can, just because it provides me a little bit more support and stability. So SBD has those two different types, the stiff and then the non-stiff or the flexible. And both of them are very comfortable. If anything, I think most people are probably more in the flexible category and not the stiff. The stiff can be really uncomfortable if you're not used to lifting with straps or lifting with wrist wraps. So I would probably say most people should go with a flexible wrist wrap. The next brand that I really like, and the one that I used for very many years, was the Metal. And so Metal, I want to make sure I spell this correctly. You can find them at gometal.com, and they are not a sponsor. I like them a lot, and neither is SBD. Again, I like them a lot. I use the Metal Orange. That's the only experience that I have with Metal, but I absolutely loved my Metal wraps. I mean, they lasted me a very long time. It looks like they're $39 to $51, depending on the length that you choose. So between 40 and 100 centimeters. I am in America, so we go off of freedom units. I don't know the conversion off the top of my head. It's like 2.2 something for every inch. So divide by 2-ish. So 20 inches, kind of a little bit less, probably 18, kind of in that range. So I would probably most people would probably be in the 60 to 80 range for centimeters that you'd probably use. And so, yeah, I absolutely love those guys. I've also used Titan support systems. I've used their wraps as well, just to get a price on there. Titan support systems. Their wrist wraps are about $30, $40. I use the Signature Gold. Those are going to be the stiffest ones that you can possibly have, and they can get kind of aggressive. And then the Max RPM are probably the least or the most flexible, and I really like those as well. Especially if we're maybe new to the gym, a Max RPM would be a good option there. And then the THP wrist wraps are also pretty nice. They're like a step up from the Max RPM. They're not nearly as stiff as the Signature Golds, but they provide a lot of nice tension there. Last option that I've used in the past are going to be the Inzer wrist wraps. And so these guys, I've used pretty much all of them, but I really like the grippers. They have a small band of rubber in between. So again, these can kind of get uncomfortable if you're not used to them. They will, especially if you have hairy hands like me, they will grab onto that and it'll be really uncomfortable. They are very flexible, and I think they mature really, really well. And so I really liked mine. I used the gripper version of the knee wraps, and I really loved those guys. They also have the Iron Z. These are going to be probably the most like consumer friendly. And then they have all sorts of, different weight lengths here as well. So I'm looking at the 20-inch on Amazon for $25. These guys, most people would do absolutely just fine with. I would say these have a little bit less integrity than the others. I think they don't have as nearly as long as a life, but they're also $25. So pretty inexpensive in comparison to, the other brands we talked about where they're like $40 to $50. And so they're a good option, especially if you want to get a good idea of what is, what you like and what you don't like. They could be a good like intro wrap for you. For squat, I would always kind of suggest that we go with more of a flexible wrap, and then for our bench, a little bit more of a stiff wrap. For the deadlift, a little bit more of a flexible wrap as well. We just want tension right there, so we're not looking for necessarily like joint support. We're just looking to create a specific. We're just using anatomy. So We just want, tension. So those are a lot of options there. So you guys can use for your bag, and that's that.
So I started taking some Magic Mind. Magic Mind is clean energy, calm energy for the brain. As you can tell, I'm pretty calm. I feel pretty good. I already took one this morning. I'm going to take another one today, right now. I don't know if you can take more than one, but I love them. And they make me feel like I can just do anything through the day. I've done a lot today. I'm getting my MBA. And so I had a lot of work this morning for a couple different service operations projects and stuff. And I got all of that done today in the morning. 6 chapters of worth of work. And then I worked on some stuff for clients, writing programs, coming up to the studio, meeting with some new individuals, and then like making some posts for social media. I think all of it is because of Magic Mind. Magic Mind just makes me feel like I have a lot to start the day with, that I feel calm but also attentive. I do have ADHD, and it helps me just stay focused while I'm actually doing the tasks that I have. So, you guys can get your own bottle and set of Magic Mind. If you go use the link below and use the code Nevares 50, Nevares 50. You get 50% off of any subscription or 30% off of any single purchase. 50% and 30% are insane deals. So go get you some, get you on a subscription, and just appreciate and love a really good time with a really good product. So get you some. Let me know how you think. It has lion's mane, cordyceps. It has all sorts of good things for the brain. It is been approved. So get you some, and yeah, enjoy. Nevares 50. Click the link below. Thank you, Magic Mind.
Number 3. So the weightlifting belt. Pretty amazing, this guy. Okay. And there's a lot of options. And so I'm going to hopefully help you figure out which option is going to fit you best. Right. So generally speaking, most people probably just need a 10 centimeter leather belt. Okay. There's a lot of options even within that. You have ratchet style belts, you have prong belts, and then you have lever belts. My favorite is going to be a lever belt. They're going to be more expensive than your prong belts, but I think that the benefits outweigh the inconvenience that you'll have from the prong. The prong, you just, you have to take off and on every single time. And then you're not ever like super consistent with its like placement. It can be really difficult, especially if you really want to like tighten that belt up pretty aggressively. So I really like the benefits of a lever belt where I can just, put it on, do my lift. I can clamp it, do my lift. And then as soon as I get off and under the weight, I just immediately unclasp. Versus a lever belt, you can put it on, and then it's really can be really kind of tough, one, to get on, but also two, to get off, especially if you're fatigued from let's say a heavy squat or a heavy deadlift. It's just inconvenient. It's just not the best. So I would say a lever belt. Now, if you can't afford the lever belts, I mean, they are not cheap right now. For most of my career, I used a Titan Support Systems belt. So again, just to get you a good idea of pricing here. Let's see. And belts, I used I believe it was the Longhorn. And let me make sure. Yeah, so either used the Longhorn or I used the Brahma. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's been a long time. It lasted me a very long time. So it looks more like from what it looks like, I would probably lean more towards the Toro. The Longhorn. So I enjoyed this belt. It's $180. So it can, depending on your budget, it can be a little bit more on the expensive side. They have some customization here, not a lot. But $180 gets you a really good belt that'll probably last you forever. I mean, it's just thick leather, right? So most people are probably going to use that 10 millimeter. I use a 13. So the SBD is $180, and then I use the SBD belt, which is going to be, I think, with shipping, I ended up paying like 303. So it's a $280 belt, and then you have to pay for shipping. So, and then you have several different kind of looks here. So, you can get fancy with it with how like the actual design of it. I got the Forge orange that I really enjoy, and then I got the 13 millimeter, and it comes in and it's stiff. It's going to be kind of hard to play with. But a lot with time, again, this belt will last you pretty much ever. It will loosen up. It definitely will. One thing that I'm not liking about the SBD is just the way the lever kind of is designed. I really kind of like the lever for the Titan support system one. It just, I don't know. There's something about it that's just, there's a lot of moving pieces with the SBD. It's not necessarily, if it's not, at least right now, if I don't put it tight enough, then if I just like breathe in a little bit, or breathe out a little bit, it'll just like pop open, which I'm not a big fan of. But if appropriately sized and the tension's right, then it's gonna stay on during your entire lift. I haven't had any issues. I haven't had any issues with it like just popping in the middle of my, my squat or my deadlift. So I do like that guy quite a bit so far. I'm interested to see how it molds to my body. And then if we don't want to spend that much on either, like that's still way out of budget, then we have not leather belts, but they're like a Velcro belt. Velcros can be super inexpensive. I think like $20 is probably like what you'd be looking at. I personally don't like the Rogue one, but that's just me. So the Grim Reaper, and then I think there's another one called Element, and that's a self-locking. I'm not the biggest fan about the self-locking mechanism. It's just really hard to get like on all the way and get a really good like tension. But it's a potential if that's really just, you really like the idea of a self-locking. I am not the biggest fan. It's also $34. And so if you wanted to give a shot and you say you don't like it, you can, I think Amazon, you can return it for free or whatever, or those let you keep it, refund you. So you can do that. But there's the most popular brand that you'll see is going to be Two Pood, and that's it's two, like the number two, POOD. And these guys are pretty well known. So I don't have a lot of experience with these belts, but it looks like they have a 4-inch and a 3-inch petite Velcro belt. The one that's probably the most often seen is going to be the 4-inch, and they're $60, $70. So also fairly inexpensive. They have a little bit more design to them, so they look a little bit cute, I guess. And so if you want to look cute while you're doing your stuff, you can always get a Two Pood. I've always heard good things. I have not really had a lot of time with one, so I can't really speak to how well it fits or doesn't fit, just because, again, I just don't have a lot of experience. I've used them a couple times. I've enjoyed my experience. Nothing super fancy. I mean, it's just Velcro. And so my concern with a Velcro belt is going to be, over time, that Velcro is ultimately going to, degrade. And so if you're new to the lifting world and you just want to see if you even like a belt, probably a Velcro belt is okay. Just to give it a shot, see if you like it. You can get one for $35 and super easy on Amazon. Don't like it, send it back, return it, right? If we maybe are, we've been lifting for a while and we've never used the belt before, but we kind of want to, or maybe we used it a couple times, like a Velcro belt, and we want a really good experience that lasts me a very long time, I would probably move more towards that lever belt. If you're not wanting to spend as much money on a lever belt and you're okay with the inconvenience of a prong belt, then a prong belt should be fine. I will never go back to a prong personally. I will only stay with lever. It's just the absolute best. And so you have two options of that. I know Inzer has a belt, but I mean, I have never even used it, nor have I really ever. I think I used it at the very beginning of my powerlifting career. Inzer belts. Let's see here. So there's our Inzer Forever belt is what it's called. And I think so it's $129 for the lever belt, $139 for a buckle, which that's because it's a 13 millimeter versus a 10 millimeter. So the 10 millimeter, it's just how thick that like the actual width is of the belt. And so 13 is it's gonna take a lot longer for you to to mold to your body because it's more leather, versus the 10 will adapt to you more easy, or easy more easy. It will be easier to adapt to your body. And so a 10 millimeter, probably good for most people. A 13 is going to take longer for you to conform to you. It's going to be a little uncomfortable probably when you're first starting. So most people probably just need a 10. I like the 13 because it just, my long-term thinking is more leather. Yes, I'll deal with the inconvenience of it, maybe not being the most comfortable, but it'll last me forever. So I'm not worried about that. So I'm going to use it for a very long time. So again, not worried about that. So Inzer has a belt. It's called the Forever belt. They have a Mastro power belt as well. I have no idea what that is. I've only ever owned the Forever belt. So that's $129. So you have a good range there. And so again, you have lever belts, you have leather belts, and inside of that you have lever, you have prong, and you have ratchet. I didn't talk about ratchet. I don't think most people need a ratchet belt. They are like approved, but I think they're overkill. I don't think you need them. I would just steer away from it entirely. So, and then you have your Velcro belts, and those Velcro belts are going to be two-pooed, or you can just get something on Amazon and kind of see where you're at. If you're an experienced weightlifter and you're looking for a new belt, you've already had one for a while, maybe a prong, and you just want to upgrade, I would 100% say get a lever. Okay. And that can be SBD if you want to spend the more money. I think there's a lot of marketing behind them, but they're all over the place. Obviously, a lot of people on the world stage use them. So obviously, they keep up pretty well, and if the best of the best are using them, I like to think if whatever the best of the best are doing, let me go ahead and just mimic that. Like they've already figured it out probably. And so SBD is awesome, and then Titan Sport Systems, their belts are also pretty great. All right, item number 4. Here we go. So the water bottle, and clean it. Either a water bottle or a shaker cup. I just do a shaker cup, and that's where I put my water in after, I've had my pre-workout or I've had my BCAAs. I'll go ahead and also have, I'll just refill it with water, or even, I got, some new stuff coming in from Sodi. And so they're just hydration packets. And so you can always put some, you can put your salts inside of there. You can put your whatever your choice of hydration powder is. Which isn't one on this list, like a hydration packet, but I think those are a good option as well. You should probably keep something like a Sodi, or so that's Sodii. I like their stuff pretty well. It is very salty, so if you're not used to or like that salty flavor, then you're probably not going to like it very much. But I am more like this is going to provide me better benefits. The research behind it is like, the research shows like 1 to 1.5 grams is kind of where we want to be for consumption of salt, and they hit that mark exactly. So I would lean more towards them. Element is another one that also does pretty well, that people know pretty well as well. And then, so those are some options there to use along with your water bottle. So that's 2 in 1, I guess, 4 and 5, but not really 4 and 5. It's just 4. So, a water bottle is good. You can use whatever brand. I don't really care what brand I have. Just make sure you clean it. That's the biggest thing. Like people just don't do a very good job of that. So you can do half-gallon jugs, full-gallon jugs, or you can always just do a shaker cup. If you are bad with your water consumption, then probably a half-gallon jug is probably pretty good. I think gallon jugs are just inconvenient and kind of obnoxious. And so, but again, if you're terrible with drinking water and you just need that external motivation, you need something to tell you like, hey, this is where you're kind of at for the day, and like your goal is to drink the full gallon, then great. I think the half gallon would probably be just fine for you. So that's water bottle, quick and easy there. So number 5, a small towel. So I personally don't carry a small towel, but we have towels at the gym so we can always clean whatever's going on, right? But having a small towel is just nice, especially if you're going to be putting your face on the floor. Especially if it's, if it's your own, you know that you cleaned it or you didn't clean it, but at least it's your sweat. You can wipe down your sweat for one, because if that gets annoying, it gets really annoying. But at the same time, I like it because I'm going to be on the floor, like my face down. Maybe I'm doing a stretch on my pec, or I'm doing maybe some pigeons. I can keep the towel down there on either the rubber if you have rubber at your gym, or the turf if that's your stretching area. Very often now people are doing turf, so that stuff can get dirty. They don't really clean the turf very much, so you can put your towel down. If you have sensitive skin, also a really good idea to have a towel with you. And that can be a microfiber cloth if you really want to, do like a quick wicking one, or just a regular small towel from, like a bath towel. That's my preference. I like the texture a little bit more because of the hands, because you get, what's it called? What are these guys called? Calluses. The calluses can kind of hold on to the microfiber cloth, and that doesn't feel very comfortable. It's an icky feeling. Not a big fan. So I like the small, just bath towel. Okay. Next, shoes. We're gonna get into shoes. All right. I love shoes. Love shoes. I love shoes. So take a quick sip. So you have, I think most people probably just need some flat sole shoes. Okay. So a zero drop shoe is what you can Google, look up if you want to do your own research, YouTube, Amazon, those kind of things. A zero drop shoe is what we're looking for. Okay. So I have a couple brands that I absolutely love here. And so we're going to talk about two different styles of shoes. We're going to talk about both flat sole or zero drop and a weightlifting shoe. So a lot of people are just wearing Converse and stuff like that, which is, I guess, technically a zero drop shoe, but they're very narrow, and we want those toes to be able to splay really well, right? More surface area, more force development, better for the feet long term, less likely to have like plantar fasciitis and stuff like that. I think it's called club toe, where one of those, your big toe kind of comes under, or hallux valgus, if I remember correctly. I have my computer so I could look it up, but I think that those are the things. So let me see. Hallux valgus. Yeah. So a bony bump that forms on the joint at the base of the big toe. A bunion forms with some of the bones in front of the part of the bone in front of the foot move out of place. So it's kind of like a bunion, but you can always, if you do have, so hallux valgus. So, yes, so hallux valgus does happen with more narrow shoes, and then it'll cause that bunion, and then your hallux or your big toe will end up kind of shifting inwards, and then kind of creating some less comfortable existences. So I would definitely recommend a wide toe box rather than our Converse. But it depends on your budget, right? So some people are just like, hey, I've had these Converse forever and I just love them, and I get it. I have a pair of Converse, I just don't wear them. And so I that's what I started lifting with, and then I finally upgraded to some better shoes. So general weightlifting, a zero drop shoe would be absolutely fantastic. And so let's go into some brands. So I loved my Vivo Barefoots. Okay. So Vivo Barefoot shoes. These guys are they're not that bad. They're not necessarily inexpensive either. So I'm on the website for Vivo Barefoot, and let's see what they got. Of course, you got to consent to all the cookies and stuff. So men's shoes, we're going to look at performance. And let's let it load for a moment. I use the Primus Elite 3s, I believe is the name. and I absolutely love them. I mean, I ran in them, I trained in them. They were like my favorite shoes that I've probably have ever had in my entire life. They just felt comfortable, but it also felt like I was really just walking with my socks. And so there is a progression to learning how to wear these appropriately. So if we're not used to this kind of shoe, we should do like once a week, and then we move up twice a week, and then so on and so on and so forth. So that ultimately it becomes your, your day to day. So these guys, the Primus Elite 3.5, these guys are priced at $160. So a good option. And then they also have a momentous strength, which is going to just be a little bit more tough of a sole. And so this says it's for more high impact exercises. I like the storm cloud color. It's just really nice. And so they're a little bit more stylish as well. I like that. The Primus Elites aren't as pretty. They just, they used to have this really cool, like blue one that I absolutely love. My shoelaces broke, and I mean, I wore those guys out. So yeah, the other ones are just, I like the white ones, but that's about it. So, but I like the Storm Cloud version of the Vivo Barefoots, the Momentous Strength. And then I think they have the exact same for women's as well. The wide toed box is going to really, really help you just make your feet more comfortable. Some other options are Zeros, XER0, XEROS Zeros. These guys are a little bit more affordable. So the first one I'm looking at is $89. So like really inexpensive, right? $100 on a good pair of shoes that'll last you for a while, right? It's a good investment. So Zeros, I know they're used by a lot of really like a lot of the guys that I used to work with in the lab would wear Zeros. They're just a good shoe. They'll hold up for a long time, and I think they have some like research behind them if I remember correctly. But I also had these. I just wasn't a fan of the style. That's the only thing that I didn't like about these guys. They are absolutely fine. They're a good shoe. There's a lot of different like looks to them. I preferred the look of the what are they called? The Vivos. But these guys are cool too. These guys are fine. And then I just had a client purchase some on Amazon, a zero drop shoe. And so zero drop, DROPSHOE, zero drop shoe. She transitioned because she was having some issues inside of her ankle, her knees, and Anna, actually. So her episode's already dropped. She's a new client of mine, and we're tracking her progress as time goes on. So you guys can go check out that video as well. So she bought some off of Amazon. These guys are $40. This is the one that she bought. The brand is WHITIN. They have several different styles, but that's the ones that she got. And so she was having all that pain inside of her feet, and it's pretty much gone almost entirely. Like her feet feel much better. Her feet, at the end of the day, she has a pretty intensive job. But her feet are still fatigued, but they're not hurting. So a big win. So those are our flat sole shoes, which most people will end up using. And then we have the lifting shoes. So if you are maybe more on, we're more experienced, we've been in the gym for a little while, you want to like really kind of level up your shoe game. There's lots of different styles of lifting shoes. My absolute favorites have been and always will be probably the Remelios. So Nike has a really good lifting shoe. They're called the Nike Remelios. Let me make sure I spell this right. It's going to be ROMALEOS, Nike Remelios. Right now, I think it looks like they're on the number 4s. And I have Nike Remelio 2s, if I remember correctly. And those are the ones that are like everyone's kind of after, like $500 pair of shoes. It's kind of insane. Just because they're just the best fitting. They have a wider toe box. They feel really comfortable. I mean, I really, really love mine. And so I use my and they'll last you again. They last me forever. The soles end up kind of like coming out a little bit, but I also wore them like outside of the gym. If you don't wear them outside of the gym, just keep them in the bag. They'll last you a really, really long time. Super like sturdy. I mean, they're a heavy shoe, but God, I mean, they just feel like they make a big difference. So if you're looking at a lifting shoe, that's where I would go first. I know the brand TYR has come out with a shoe, and I think this is with the Squat University guy. I think he's either a collaborator or he is the inventor of these guys. And so they have a wider toe box. They have, it looks like a pretty decent sized heel. These guys are going to be $225 versus the Romelios look like they'll be $200. The heel height of your TYR is going to be 21 millimeters versus our Romelios look like they will be, I forget, they are 20 millimeters. So 1 millimeter different. You're not going to really see that difference. You have to be really like experienced athlete to even feel that. You're not going to feel it. Even an experienced athlete probably won't feel that. Maybe it depends. So depends how intuitive you are, like, whatever. So Romelios and then TYRs. I have not used the TYRs. I cannot speak to them. I've heard good things, but again, I have absolutely zero idea anything about them. So I just know who created them, and it's that guy. And so, yeah, he's pretty big in the squat world. He definitely knows his stuff, so I'd imagine it's a good shoe. I have no experience with him. The next one are going to be called the Addy Powers. Addy Powers are going to be our least expensive ones, so they are the most affordable. So these guys are $130 on Rogue. On the website, they're $184. They looks like they're on sale from $230. But I'm consistently seeing prices in like the $100 to $180 range. And it looks like probably the new ones that just came out are $230. I've heard good things. These guys have a slightly less tall heel, if I remember correctly. So these guys are 15 millimeter. You will feel that difference. Experienced or not, you will feel that difference. It's pretty significant. It's a nice shoe. I mean, it's fine. I just don't think, from what I remember, I had some athletes that used to use these. They are a little bit more narrow, if I remember correctly, than the Romelios that I had, and it had a smaller heel. So what that means is if we need a lot of help with our dorsiflexion, or like whenever I'm squatting, I want my knee to go a little bit further forward. Like I need a lot of help, maybe have a really long femur, then I can be in more of a Romelio or a TYR, those guys that have a little bit thicker of a heel, versus maybe I don't have that problem, but I still want maybe more quad development, or I want a little bit better positioning or upright chest. Then I can go with an Addy Power, or they're called Addy Power Lifts, and these I'm looking at are number 5s, and these are $130. So slightly smaller heel, and maybe you're just like, you're entertaining the idea of getting to the heel game. These guys are a little bit less expensive. The little bit less of a heel will make a little bit of difference. You can kind of see if you like the heel, compare them to your zero drop shoe, your flat shoe. One more flat shoe that I did not talk about that I have been using pretty much every single day now, are going to be the Reeboks. I got these guys from a friend who is sponsored by Reeboks. Ones I got, I don't think they sell anymore, but at least, so I got the Nanos, and I like my Nanos quite a bit. I think if I remember correctly, these look right. They look like a zero. They kind of don't look like a zero drop shoe, but I could be wrong. The ones that I have are a zero drop, and so maybe I'm just wrong on the style. I'm waiting for the website to load. So let's see here. For deadlifting, people will even use wrestling shoes. I've seen that. I mean, I did that as well. I don't know that I would do that again. They're still very narrow, so I don't know that I would do that. Probably not. There's a lot of like slippers and stuff like that. So if you really want to get into another zero drop shoe, you can just get like I think it's like an A7. A7 is the brand. They have slippers, and they're just called A7 deadlift slippers. Notorious is also a really big brand right now. It doesn't look like, oh yeah, A7s are still out there. And then Notorious is a pretty big brand, and those guys are only $40, and so pretty inexpensive. For our Reeboks, I don't see the exact ones that I have. Again, I don't think they sell them, but I'm looking for like the style. Um, it could be the Nanos. So I love mine. Um, and so I would recommend those as well. But I don't think they sell that exact one anymore. But I think it's the Nano X5s, which is a good shoe. I like them. Yeah, they're good. So just to recap, you have flat and you have lifting shoes. Inside of flat sole shoes, you have Vivo Barefoots, Zeros, and then maybe some Reeboks. If you want to just a deadlift specific shoe, then we can look at some deadlift slippers, Notorious or A7s are good brands. And then we have our lifting shoes. And so depending on the height or experience that we have, if you want a smaller heel, the Addy Powers. If you want a larger heel, then we can be looking at the Romelios and then the TYRs to be the highest in heel by 1 millimeter, so not by much. And then the thicker or the wider toe box is going to come from the TYR, I would imagine, just because of who's backing them. I don't know that from personal experience. But I love my Romelios. They lasted me forever. And then you also have Velasas for those other ones. So I know I'll give you guys a lot of options here. Velasas. This will be the last one that I recommend just because I used them recently. They were just a little bit narrow for my feet. I have a little bit wider of a toe or of a foot. So I wasn't the biggest fan in the world, to be honest with you. But I know that people use them. I really wasn't a fan. They made my feet hurt, and they're $250, so they're a little bit more expensive. They are stylish. They have a wood heel, which is different than the plastic heel. You'll have a little bit better sensation of the ground, like you'll be like really feel where you're at versus the plastic heel. You're definitely like much more elevated. It's kind of hard. You have a little bit of separation from the ground. And most people aren't going to really be able to tell that difference. We talked about it in one of our episodes a while ago about endometriosis and all that good stuff. So that was a good one. That was with Jess Wise. Great episode. So moving along, number 7, a pre-workout or a quick snack. If I'm going to choose one of these two things, I'm going to choose the quick snack all day, every day. Obviously, I like a pre-workout because I've created my own pre-workout. Should be out here hopefully soon, depending on our manufacturing process. But our quick snack is going to probably be the most important thing for most people, just because we're not always the best at eating, and so making sure that we have something that's a good carbohydrate inside of our workout. You can do powders, you can do like a Pop-Tart, you can do a whole lot of different options. You can do peanut butter balls. I know that's a pretty common thing. I used to do that as well. Love those. Depending on like how you feel when you eat, it depends on you. But I would say the quick snack is probably the most important part. So you can do a banana, protein bars. Legendary is a pretty good brand for protein bars. We had a video with Invigor Medical a while ago where we reviewed a lot of different protein bars. Really enjoyed that. And so I would say a quick snack is probably the most important. And then our pre-workout, if it's a well-designed pre-workout, it can provide massive benefits. Creatine alone will have an increase in power output. Caffeine can help you with power output or overall absolute force production. So there's a lot of benefits. I mean, it helps oxidize fat cells, and so you're burning more fat calories and blah 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 blah. There's a lot of benefits to pre-workouts. We can do a whole video on the different kind of stuff you're going to see in pre-workouts, which we might do in the future. And then wireless headphones. Oh my God. I mean, if I go to the gym and I don't have my headphones, I will go back home, get my headphones, and come back. I mean, for me, they make a big difference. I get locked in, man. I want to listen what I want to listen to. And I just think that like they're a mandatory item, like headphones, number 8, big necessary item. You can listen to podcasts, you can listen to books, and sometimes when I'm doing cardio, I'll just listen to a book, I'll listen to a good podcast. But yeah, I mean, headphones are not even a question. That's like the top one. notebook or training app. So you have a whole bunch of options here. Some people use just like they like to write their stuff down to track how time, like how their progress is going, which is rather important. And so some people do it on either a notebook or on a training app. So for our notebook, I mean, you just get you could just get one that's $1 from Walmart if they're still $1. I don't know. But just like one of those that you used to journal back in grade school, that's a good option. And then you just kind of take notes about how the day went. It gets you some really good data so you can go back to and always review. And also like some options with like, did I really even like these wrist wraps? Did I not like these wrist wraps? Why did I or did I not? In that moment, you can write that kind of stuff down, which is good. And then it's also nice to just like, if you like are really good about keeping your notebook down, you can do like a couple years of notebooks and be like, wow, like look how far I've come. You know, how fucking cool. So notebooks are super cool for that reason. And then our training app. And so we have our own, right? We use Trainerize for or ABC. It's the parent company. Trainerize is the company that we use for our own training programs. And so if you're interested in programming, we can always, help you out and get you some good programming. You can join a community where we just write, just kind of like a CrossFit style workout where it's just like it's a community workout. Everybody gets the same workout. You can do that. It is not CrossFit style. Just the concept is, right? So everybody gets the same program. Everyone follows the same idea. I update it. I manage the program. And so, that's an option. And if you're interested, let us know. You can email me at bnevares@iehealth.co. Or you can just leave a comment and we can go ahead and get you hooked up. Or you can message me on Instagram, Ben, Nevares, Ben Nevares at Instagram. And we can go ahead and get you set up. Or at iehealth.co, also on Instagram. One of our team will get to you there as well. So we have training apps. That's one of them that we use. There's a whole Coach RX is another one. I think RP Strength is another one. I mean, you have a lot of different options there. The ones that we use, it just happens to be the Trainerize app. I also use Excel for my more complex programs. And so you can always do that as well. If you want to get into your own program writing, that's an option as well. So number 10, last item here. A lot of you smelly people need this one. So just making sure you have some deodorant inside your bag, or some wipes, maybe a fresh shirt. It's good or maybe some fresh underwear. Some of you just fucking smell like shit. So making sure you keep some really like nice smelling stuff around in your bag, because you people can get gross. I mean, every time I walk into the men's locker room recently, I mean, it smells like fucking just ass, dude. It smells disgusting. So wear some deodorant, please, for everyone's sake. That'd be good to keep inside your bag. And then again, some like wipes. I know there's like dude wipes that you can use to make sure you just smell nice before, you can't get a shower. Maybe you're going to go out. You're going to go to dinner with some friends. Maybe you met some friends at the gym and you're going to go out and grab some drinks or whatever it is. Dude wipes could be a good option. Deodorant. And then some sort of good spray, not an Axe, but like an actual cologne, right? Would be good. A fresh shirt and some fresh underwear. Cool. So those are the top 10 things. I know it was kind of a long video, but those are the top 10 things and why, and then some options that you can use so you can take home with you. And yeah, if you have any other questions or want me to discuss anything in particular around the gym, please let us know. Leave a comment. We'd be happy to answer any of your questions. We can also review the programs that you're on. And so if you're on a current program, you're not really sure where to go, or if you have some form issues, you not really know how to solve them, we can always go ahead. You can send your videos in and we can go ahead and review those videos here on the podcast so you can get to not just teach, but also maybe some other people that are having some of the same issues. And so you can email me at benthinkingpod@gmail.com. One more time, that's benthinkingpod@gmail.com. And we can review all of your form, technique, any of your anything. If you have any questions, let us know. Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys very much. Hope this was helpful. Love y'all and goodbye.